So you got yourself a OneXPlayer Apex, maybe potentially the Frostbay, whether you have that or not, and you're thinking, let's get this thing set up. Well, I had a bunch of user requests asking me to do a kind of just like setup, like you have the product, let's get it started. So that's what I'm going to do here. We're going to have this product. This is actually after my review. This is way later, but I'm going to treat this as if I just got it. We're going to set it up for the first time. We're going to test it out. I'm going to show you guys what you should do when you first get your Apex. So when you first get this, I mean, there's not much to do here. You have your device all set up here. You can look at your ports. You do have access to volume up, volume down. You do have access to USB-A which is really nice if you're trying to get set up. You can plug in stuff like this here. Mouse and keyboard. Help get yourself set up once you're logged into Windows. Like I said, DC power, USB-C, which you can use for, peripherals, that kind of stuff. You can run like docks off of this if you want extra ports. You can run USB-C docks, USB 4 ports, all kind of stuff like that. You have another one down here. You can run that as well. You'd have access to a micro SD card for more storage. I've only put in 1 terabyte, but you could put 2. And then you do have access, optionally, to a BuyWin mini SSD. If you buy one of these, it runs the same as an NVMe SSD, not an SD card, an SSD, and that goes in there. There's not a lot of devices that support this. Right now there's the OneXPlayer Air, and this one here, and the Super, which is a little laptop. Probably more down the road, but this is an option as well. So those are all your externals there, right? The other thing, of course, you do have access to your, you click style, analog. Very good. So that's that. I mean, we're pretty much ready to rumble here. Let's actually use this because it's just easier for me than having my hand on the screen. Now, of course, it does have touchscreen navigation. If you want to type in stuff, you can press this button here. That'll bring up your keyboard. You can use touchscreen, and then you can type in stuff there. But USB-A, you can use mouse and keyboard. I'm going to use USB-A just so that we're not, not physically touching the screen all the time and getting in the way. Okay, so let's talk about power. This device here does not have a built-in battery. There is no battery. So as a result, obviously it's very light, but it doesn't have a built-in battery. It does have an external battery pack. You click that on there. It actually has a nice built-in kickstand here. They're actually going to be replacing this battery with one that performs even better, free of charge, of course. That's going to show up. If you watch my review, I talk about it. But you can do battery, you can do USB-C, and you can do DC. DC over the proprietary charger. This here will supply the most power. Now, when you're actually gaming or doing whatever, the battery can supply a peak performance of 55 watts. This one does have some weird issues with overheating if you do that. I mean, normally I'm gaming at 25 to 30 watts anyways, and it doesn't have that problem, but if you do let it go max, it will have issues. However, they're replacing it free of charge with a better one. So you'll end up with 2. They're not replacing it, they're just actually sending another one. So that'll be good. But this allows 55 watts peak, especially when it's replaced, which is quite good. You get a huge jump in performance going from, let's say, 30 all the way up to 55. There's a big jump in performance. Now, the interesting thing is I've tested this thing extensively. Peak gaming performance occurs at 80 watts. Now, you do have access to DC power. Now, because I have the Frostbay here, I can run the DC power through the Frostbay into here. It'll give me the same, 80 watts. However, if I turn on the Frostbay, which is a liquid cooling unit, I will unlock a higher power profile, 120 watts. The air cooling in here is capable of keeping up with 80 watts without any issues. It does get a little warm, but it doesn't throttle, doesn't have any problems. You can run it at 70 or something like that, which uses like 1 or 2 FPS, but you do get cooler temperatures, so that's always an option for you. So that's an option. If you do hook up the liquid, you do unlock 120 watts. Unnecessary for gaming. It does make a difference in CPU tasks like rendering, that kind of stuff. It will make a difference. But of course you can plug this into here, run it at 80 watts, which is, like I said, that's peak gaming performance. And if you run the liquid cooling, it just runs really quiet and cool, especially if this thing's under like a lower performance mode. Whereas under the fan, like air only, the fan does have to rip pretty hard to keep that cool. It's a handheld with 80 watts. It's pretty crazy, to be honest. So that's that. The battery, just so you know, as I said, there's going to be a replacement. It does have a charger. You can set it on that, plug it in and charge it. When it is hooked into the device, like this here, it does have charging. So if I plug that in there, now I can turn on the device because it doesn't have a built-in battery. Right? And when I actually plug in let's say USB-C, or I plug in DC power, it'll bypass the device and actually charge this while you're running it. So it'll give enough power to the device to function and also charge at the same time. So you do have access to the frost bay. You do have access to air cooling. If you run the air cooling, you're not going to have to worry about the frost bay. If you run the frost bay, you can also use air cooling or frost bay. It's your choice. But let's say we're set up here. I'm going to go over a few things here first, then we're going to get into like kind of tidying up the system. So you press this button here. That is your overlay. You can bring this up in game. You can bring it up at any time and it won't crash out your game. It actually comes over top of the game. You have in here your TDP, right, for your APU, for your AMD APU, right? And you can see here we're on battery. We can go up to 55, as I said. You come in here and you plug in the USB-C. Right, we plugged in the USB-C. Now it's going to actually charge the device as well at the same time, so that's pretty sweet. We're not going to have to use the battery at all. You do have access to your TGP mode here, right, all that. You can also use these. And you can see it live in game if you use an overlay. You can see how many watts you're at. It doesn't mean that it's going to sit at that. This is the maximum allowed. So if I put it at 55, it doesn't mean Windows is just going to sit at 65 here doing nothing, or 55 here. It's not going to just do that. Fan, I leave them in automatic, and it will turn on as needed. You can put it in different presets, customize it as you need. I put it in automatic especially because I also run the liquid. So they'll work in conjunction with one another. If the liquid cooling is on and running faster, the air cooling can run less or even turn off, and vice versa. Vibration setting is how strong the vibration is. That's your choice. You do have some other stuff in here. You have your display. You can calibrate directly from here. Some basic tweaking. I don't typically do that, but you can run this lower. This system is fast enough to run anything at 1200p without issues. RGB for that there. You have things like performance overlay, CPU turbo off and on. It's your choice. It can help with gaming. Doesn't make a big difference because this thing has such a high amount of wattage overhead, and I usually run it at 80 anyways, so it's not like it's going to run into issues. That can actually help quite a bit with CPU heavy tasks in Windows. Like, you open up a program, it'll boost like crazy, get something loaded up, and then it will kind of tailor off because that initial load in takes a lot of time. Using things like, let's say, shader compilation, that's a heavy short-term CPU task. That can help. You have things like gyroscopic aiming, some other performance presets, that kind of stuff. These are things you can tweak. Very good. Brightness for the screen, volume as well. Right. So again, that's in here. Now there's other stuff in here. You can press this button. You have some other overlays you can play with. Just kind of basic stuff you can play with if you want quick access. This is important though. It's kind of doesn't pop out as much as you'd think, but you can click on that. And there's a whole thing in here now. This is another overlay. Now in here, you do have access to the cooling setting if you have the frost bay. This is important. You're going to need that. There is the update center where you can update your device, and every now and then you'll want to potentially come in here and update drivers and BIOS. Of course, you can get them from OneX themselves. The Discord is a good option. The OneXPlayer Discord is a good option to get that kind of stuff, but you can also do it in here. It's important to keep that kind of stuff up to date always for security and other things. Different performance modes. Right, you can come in here, you can play with these performance modes here. CPU settings, boost, turn that stuff on and off, right? You can have it so that the different modes here, so if I'm on USB-C, it's going to be at 55. Battery power, 20. DC, which is the big boy over here, I can say you can go all the way up to, I don't know, 60 or something, or 65, probably 70. And then when we have liquid cooling, we can go all up to 120. You can set that how you want. Now the other thing you can do is, depending on which model you get here, you can allocate VRAM. Now, not too long ago, I think the concept of VRAM was a little bit more foreign to a lot of people, but it's been so mainstream now, talking about issues with VRAM in games, that we're starting to the point where people just kind of understand it. So we have our CPU here. We have our memory. Now this system, you can see right here, has 64 gigabytes of memory to the whole system. 64 gigabytes. I bought the 64 gigabyte model. You can buy it in 48 gigabytes, which is probably the sweet spot for a lot of people who are only doing gaming, right? There's your memory, whatever. Like I said, there's 64 gigabytes. Now you can see here, it doesn't give me 64 gigabytes anywhere in here, right? It doesn't allow me to do that. You can see over here, it says only 48. Well, why? Why is 64 and then 48? Well, I've taken some of that memory for the graphics card. It's part of the system, it's part of the thing, but I'm just going to call the GPU. So graphical processing unit here, I've allocated 16 gigabytes to it. So I took 64 gigabytes off of what I'm allowed from the system, and I've taken out 16 and I've put that into the graphics. That's probably enough for pretty much anybody in gaming. There's really no need to go above 16 for gaming purposes because it always comes down to performance to VRAM. The performance of this GPU is definitely capable of using more than 8 gigabytes, which is, RTX 4060, for example, only has 8 gigabytes. So you can actually run into a VRAM issue, dedicated memory issue, before you run into the maximum performance of the GPU. 16 gigabytes, it means that you're essentially never going to really run into graphical issues with 16 gigabytes, and you can just use the rest for your system. So now I have 48 gigabytes for games, for having programs open, all kinds of stuff. If you have the 64 gigabyte system, I guess technically you could put 32 and 32. If you're doing LLMs, like AI stuff, like you can see, there's AI type stuff on these systems, you can allocate even more. You could do 48 to the graphics, and you could do 16 to Windows. You never really want Windows to have under 16. Even that's pretty low. I would say Windows needs at least 24 over here. 32 is ideal. If you get, for example, this system here with, the 128 gigabytes of memory, you could allocate like 16 or whatever, 24 to memory and just give a ton to the graphics, which helps you with doing LLMs. Let's say you want to tweak that. Now it comes with 16 at default. In my system, came with 16 at default. So you can see here, it gave me 48 for Windows, having Chrome tabs open, Edge tabs, programs, games, documents, all that crap open. It's going to be pulling from here, the system memory. The graphics memory are used for the GPU. Like right now, I'm probably not using really any because I'm not doing anything. So it doesn't need that, but it's just going to be prioritized. In here, this is the AMD Adrenalin. So I'm going to close that down. Just open it up. Now you can install this if it doesn't come. It should come with your handheld, but if not, we'll download it anyways. So you come in here, you click on Adrenalin, and you just go here, Performance, Tuning, and you can see 16 or 48. 16 and 48. Now you can change it minimum. That's very low. 0.5 is not enough for this GPU, not even close. High is split 50-50, 32 and 32. You can do that if you want. It's your choice. Or you can go custom. Now, it depends which system you have, how much you have for your system. Again, you could do 32, you could do 48. Honestly, for pretty much anyone who's using this just for gaming, just 16 gigabytes for your GPU, and then your system will be the rest, right? You're gonna have at least 32 left over for the system, potentially more, depending what you have. So that's good. We're looking good here. Okay, so the very first thing you're gonna wanna probably do when you first get this device is you're gonna wanna download the new AMD drivers because they're gonna be outdated. It's just the way that it is. So you connect to your internet, you come in here, you go AMD, or you can type in AMD drivers, click here. You come down here, reject that. And you can come in here and find it, but we don't need to do that. There's just this find tool. Download Windows drivers. This will download. Okay, you can just click on that. You can close it, whatever. I have all kinds of crap on here. Double click that. And it's going to come in here and it's going to say, do you want to install? During this process, it will install this. If you didn't have it, it'll install this Adrenalin software, which you can use for all kinds of tuning, like VRAM. It's your choice. It's already installed, so you hit repair in my case and installed. You'll just come in here, you'll close that down, you'll hit accept and express. It'll take, I don't know, 5 minutes, maybe 10 max. And once you're done, you'll have the upgraded graphics driver for your machine, meaning you're gonna get the best game performance you can get, and you'll have this software installed. Now later, once you're done, you can actually update it from here. You can go, right, it's up to date. You can see that, but you can come in here and you can say, I need to update again. So from AMD Adrenalin, you can update as you go. You can tweak in here. There's all kinds of tweaking you can do in here. I'm not going to go over that in this video, but there's all kinds of tweaking you can go in here. You can tweak as needed. But one of the things you can do in here is you can update as you go. Okay, so now we're set up in that regards. Now we need to come in and essentially get other things started and installed. So of course you're going to install the game launchers you want, probably Steam. If you use Game Pass, you can get Game Pass. You come in here, click on the store here, and then you can put in, it already has Xbox, but you can come in here and you can go Xbox, usually update it. Click on there if it doesn't have it, but you can also just come in here, Xbox app, that'll pop up. Get it here. That'll pop up, and then you can, set up Game Pass. Click on there, Xbox app, open it up or install it, whatever. It's going to open up now. I haven't actually used it on this PC, but I have Xbox Game Pass. It'll ask you to log in, and then you log in, and you have Game Pass. You can install the games you want. Very good. That's very nice. So now we have Steam installed. We have Xbox Game Pass installed. Epic, whatever else you want, install the software that you want, and you're ready to rumble in terms of like, basically you're ready to game, to be honest. But there's a few things you can tweak to make things run better as well. So first things first, battery tweaking. There's a lot of crap that you don't want necessarily happening on your system. First things first, I'm going to actually type this out because I want you to read this. Come in here. Okay, can you see that? Do not effing install the effing Discord effing app on your computer. Ever. Okay? Discord app is spyware. It will constantly be running on your system. It's very invasive, extremely invasive. I don't trust it. And the other thing is it's going to potentially drain your battery like crazy because it's constantly running and doing things. So don't run Discord on your effing computer ever. I don't want to see it. If I hear that you have it, I'm going to come for you. What you do is you come in here and you run Discord in your browser, right? Ideally, a more private browser, right? I use Edge for all my shopping because it gives you coupons and all that good stuff. I do use Edge a lot. People don't like it, but it's great for shopping. And then I use Brave browser for browsing, and I run Discord in the browser. I would never click this button, ever. Don't ever click that button. Come down here, run it in the browser. Log in. I'm not going to do it, but you run Discord in your browser, and it works perfectly fine. You can stream off of this, okay? Run Discord in your browser. It'll keep your system clean. It'll be pulling when the Discord app wants to do stuff. It has to get the rights and priorities through the browser you're running, especially if you're running a private browser. It's going to be running through that rather than an app on your computer doing whatever the F it wants. So that's very important, okay? Very good. The next thing you can do, you can start to essentially turn off a lot of telemetry on Windows. So you can come in here, type in privacy settings, and I've turned off a lot of this, but you know, when I set it up, some of it's there, and I left a lot of these on to show you. So general, you know, this kind of crap, but a lot of this stuff's turned on, right? Maybe I did turn off a lot of it, but you know, diagnostics and feedback, turn that crap off. Typing and inking, so it's gonna be like literally watching what you type, turn that off, right? Camera, it doesn't have a camera, you can turn it off. You can set it up specifically as you need. You know, I turned off all this stuff, but you know, emails, like this is the computer allowing, look at this, radio access, allow other systems, like accessing your Wi-Fi, no thank you. No thank you, right? Having other devices pair, this isn't even computers you own, this is just computers potentially on the network you're on. You're going to let them read your computer? No thank you, right? Turn all this crap off. All this crap, turn it all off. You probably want to leave on this one, screenshots and screen recording, or tweak it at least. You can leave that on there. Stuff like camera, where did that go? Camera, I turn it off, but I would leave like camera on. If you use OBS, you can turn OBS on, but turn the other ones off. That will not only, that'll decrease telemetry, make your system cleaner. It might increase performance, I don't know, on battery, because you just have less crap happening, but regardless, it is good for privacy. Next thing you want to do, Control Alt Delete, come into Task Manager, or come down here and type Task Manager. That pops up. You can see here how much your CPU is being used, memory, all that kind of stuff. But what I want you to do is come over here to this little, like, I don't know, I guess it's like a speedometer. Click on that, and it tells you what programs are starting when Windows starts. I don't need OneDrive starting with my computer. I don't actually need Steam starting. I don't need Copilot starting. I don't need Terminal. I don't need Xbox starting. The more programs you install, a lot of them will start up automatically. And like you turn on your computer and they'll try to start. Turn them off. You can leave like the AMD noise suppression, that's audio, and leave the security. I would not personally want Steam to start up because maybe I don't want to jump into Steam. Maybe I want to jump into Game Pass. And then that Steam is going to be running in the background, taking battery, right? Taking resources, taking battery. So I turn it off. So that's the way to essentially increase your battery life without messing too much stuff up. You turn off some of that privacy telemetry crap. You prevent startup apps from running for no reason. And then the last thing that you do is you don't run Discord in a Discord app. That's very important. Discord will kill your battery life. It's also invasive. Very good. The next thing you're going to want to do is fill up your frostbite here. So if you have that, you're going to fill it up. Basically just, now it's too full right here. I'm going to show you that. That's too full. See how it's filled right to the top? That is too much water. The pump won't work properly when it's filled up that much. So I'm going to have to take some of that water off. Now they tell you exactly how much water you want to use. I don't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head, but I just filled it right to the bottom of the white area there. There's a little white plastic thing inside there, and I technically just filled it right to the bottom of that. You do not want to fill it to the top because it'll be too much. you won't be able to get proper water flow. And then you essentially just close it back up like that. You must use distilled water. You cannot use spring water. You cannot use filtered water. You cannot use anything except distilled water, because distilled water has all of the impurities distilled out. It is the purest water you're going to find, essentially. And that way there's nothing that's going to mess up the system. You should not store it in cold temperatures with water in it, because it will freeze. Water expands when it freezes, becomes ice, increases its volume, and then it will destroy your device. Make sure that when you fill it, there's no water inside any of these here. I didn't actually get any in, but just make sure. Once you're filled, you're good. You don't have to fill it up again until you've essentially emptied it. So there you go. That's ready to rumble. Now, the next thing you're going to do is actually hook it up. So if you're, again, this is only for people who have the frost bay, but you come in here. This needs to be, there's one way that's going to work and one way that's not going to work. So you have to line these up like this. If you put them in reverse, it's going to have issues potentially. So you come in here, and there's a little tiny like little boobin here. Those have to line up. There's little cuts in here, so you have to line it up. So I have to turn it like that until it goes in, and then turn it back, and it releases. See that? Turn it out, turn it in. Little boobins. Turn it. Locked. Now we're good. It's very good. Now, you can plug this in and unplug it as needed. It doesn't cause damage to the system. You can have it running. You can just be like, I don't want to use it anymore. It doesn't matter. To have this working, though, you do have to plug it in. So I'm going to plug this into the wall, plug that into here. It does work as a little bit of a bypass. So you actually get USB-C and A charging for other things. And it does come with a bypass. So if you're just using the DC power on the handheld, you just go straight into the handheld. But because I'm going to be charging the handheld off of the frost bay, I click that in here, plug that in. You'll notice it'll pop up right away. It knows that it's plugged in. And as you can see here, all of a sudden we've unlocked 80 watts. Can you see that? So we went from the USB-C or the battery that only allowed for 55 watts, and now we have unlocked 80 watts because the DC power allows for 80 watts. Now, as I mentioned, as a result, if you have the air power system or the liquid power system, doesn't matter, it's going to unlock 80 watts when you're on DC, and what that means is you're going to get full gaming performance. The full gaming performance happens at 80 watts, not above that. Okay, so I can pull that up to 80, and it's going to absolutely tear. Now, you notice this thing isn't doing anything. It's supplying power as a pass-through, but it's not actually doing anything. So we come in here. Now it's on. Okay, it's not actually doing anything, but it's on. It's just run. It'll figure some stuff out. You come in here, you click on this button here, cooling settings, and now you can tweak. So there's lots of stuff you can do in here. It's not connected yet. It is powering it, but you can see nothing's running here. Right? We have our fan speed, the fan. We have the pump speed. That's how much water is going to be moving, but nothing else is running. So what you got to do here, you come in here, and watch this. Take this out. The battery it's charging, but we don't need it anymore. And the reason I have to take it out is because the battery sits over top of the cooling system. So come in here, take that out, put it over there and charge. Underneath here, this is a magnet. Take that out, and you can see here, there is the cooling hookup for the liquid cooling. Again, only if you have the liquid cooler. And you literally just put this in here. You can press this button to make it a little easier. Slide it in. Just make sure it doesn't come out, and there you go. Now we are hooked up. This is now a water loop. Very good. Sealed off. Come in here, and we'll hit connect. And it's going to say, actually that's plugged in. It's going to say, you know, I have the power required, and I also have the liquid cooling hooked up now. Let's get it going. And so that's basically that. Once you're in gaming, you play with it, right? So this is in here. You can play with these fan curves as you want. You can increase more liquid moving through the system. Getting in here, you can increase the fan, decrease the fan, do whatever you want. Customize it, put it on silent. It still runs cool enough on silent. You can find the balance between them. Typically, if you have the liquid cooling hooked up, I mean, you can run it at a reasonable setting. With this thing, just staying very cool, especially if you don't run it at full watts. And so I suppose that's basically it, right? That's the first setup here. You're going to come in here, you're going to get everything set up, like hardware wise, get it all set up, ready to rumble, charged up, whatever. You can decide if you're going to be on battery, USB-C, this here. If you are running the Frost Bay, you can hook it up, get it running, get it set up in here as needed, get that set up. You're going to get Windows debloated. You're going to avoid installing the Discord. you're going to update AMD drivers or install AMD Adrenalin, and then you're going to set the amount of VRAM that you want. And then honestly, you're just going to start playing games. Every now and then, update your AMD drivers. Every now and then, check to see if there's any updates for the hardware itself. You can join the OneXPlayer Discord. I'm not associated with them. I just go on there. They also post drivers there. And then you can start enjoying your handheld. And that is the OneXPlayer. Apex, ready to rumble.